just want to go through the quick agenda for the few hours we've got ahead of us. I'm the MD of Land 3. My name is Martin Jones, and I've put this together because so many of us right now are working from home. I've certainly noticed in the last, this week, things seem to be picking up a lot more than they were in the previous few weeks. The importance of getting the most productivity we can out of the time we're working from home is absolutely imperative. So our first presenter today is our Webbers Vic, Senior Director of Product Marketing and Business Development at Cato, and he'll be followed by Marvin Tress, who's the Lead Channel Sales Engineer at Ring Central. Throughout this presentation, please do ask questions. There's a Q&A window at the bottom of the screen. I will read these questions throughout the presentations and interject into the presentations with their permission. So hopefully we'll answer the questions as we go along. Bit of housekeeping for you. Toilets, they basically where you've been going for the last 7 weeks, and nothing's going to change there in the next few weeks either. Fire exit, you probably know your houses better than I do. I imagine you have a front door and a back door, use one of them. If you can stay to the end, obviously that would be fantastic. And the reward is we will donate £20 per attendee who stays to the end to the NHS. And as something a little bit special, I'll give you the day off tomorrow. So without further ado, I shall pass across to Isle.
All right, thank you very much, Martin. Can everybody hear me, see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay, great. I was nervous for a minute. Okay, thank you. Really excited about being with everyone today. Pity we can't do this face-to-face, but that's the current reality. I've prepared a short presentation about 170-something slides where I want to walk you through what SASE is, how is Cato's implementation of SASE look like. There's a bonus section. I'm going to speak specifically about how SASE enables working from home, and then I'll also speak obviously about how well we integrate and complement the solution that Ring Central are providing. So as Martin said, if you have any questions, just copy them or type them into the Q&A window, and Martin will interrupt me and ask them. So let's get going. A brief overview about Cato. For those of you who don't know us yet, we've been founded by two gentlemen, Shlomo Kramer and Gur Schatz. Shlomo was the co-founder of Checkpoint Software, which I'm sure you all know, and Imperva. He built actually the first firewall and later on the first web application firewall, and has been a founding investor in many other companies like Palo Alto Networks and Trustir, all of which I'm sure you've heard of. His partner in crime, Gur Schatz, our CDO, was the co-founder and CEO of Incapsula, which built the first cloud-based anti-DDoS network. So two gentlemen together combine a lot of experience and team leadership around both security and cloud networking, which is exactly what Cato is doing. We've raised a total of a little over $200 billion in funding so far from leading VCs. We have over 500 production customers, enterprise customers that span across 100 countries. I'll show you a few examples in a minute. Over 4,500 branches connected. And a very thing that is unique to our SASE is that we also serve mobile users, such as us, working from remote these days. And we have over 100,000 of those on the service. So just to show you a glimpse of a few of our selected customers, I'm sure everybody can find at least one logo that they can identify. What's unique about this list is that there is no specific vertical or specific company size or company global distribution that is tailored to Cato solutions. We're actually a great fit for companies of all sizes, all verticals, and whether they are regional organizations within one country or a global enterprise. So let's start speaking a little bit about SASE. Let me ask you to raise your hand if you've heard the term SASE or Secure Access Service Edge before. I see one hand raised, 4 or 5. Someone changed his mind. Okay, so that's great. So thank you. So Gartner, which is the leading IT analyst firm of the world, has identified a paradigm shift in how IT teams are looking to run their IT. For decades, everybody used to focus on performance and feature. You wanted the biggest machine with the longest list of features and the ability to control, tweak, and tune everything. But over time, this has proven to fail to deliver the speed, agility, and flexibility that IT teams need to support a digital business. A digital business is a business that needs to be competitive in order to succeed in modern time. It needs to be based on clouds rather than on on-prem solutions. It needs to move fast, to be able to adjust to business demands very quickly. And using legacy solution doesn't support these requirements anymore. I'll show you exactly how. And this is where Gartner came with this understanding that future network will target operational simplicity, automation, reliability, and flexible business models, which means that IT needs to be as flexible or even more flexible than the business itself. So why is the old world, why are the old solutions not a great fit? And the source reason for that problem is that traditionally IT teams used to solve point problems with point solutions. You used to run over an MPLS network between your physical sites, and then everything exploded, right? In the last decade, you have branches everywhere of different sizes. Data is moving to the cloud, applications are moving to the cloud. And now we're seeing this the most with the mobile workforce who are working from outside the office. So all the infrastructure that you had in place in your physical locations is no longer a fit for what you need. So let me give you some examples. MPLS was the core network of most enterprises. It became very expensive, very rigid, very limited of bandwidth compared to what applications had today. IT solved this with SD-WAN technologies. Opening branches of small sizes doesn't justify MPLS, so that MPLS can't reach everywhere. So you need solution for your global branches like branch security and global backbones, if those branches are overseas. You move up to the cloud. So when your applications and data moves up to the cloud, you need solutions for cloud acceleration as well as cloud security. The fact that data is hosted in the cloud doesn't automatically make it secure. And then for the mobile users, you need some kind of a VPN or software-defined perimeter solution, as well as a secure connection into the network. Now, each one of those circles or rectangulars are actually point products that you would have to buy, install, maintain inside your network, and that makes your network very, very slow. And what Gartner is saying about this is the digital transformation and the adoption of mobile cloud and edge deployment models change network traffic patterns. The way that the traffic is moving across your networks is not the same way that it used to be 10 or 20 or 15 or 20 years ago, and that is rendering the existing network and security models completely obsolete. We need something else, and this is exactly what Gartner are calling SASE. SASE stands for Secure Access Service Edge. I don't get any royalties for this name. And it actually means that you take all your network and network security solutions that you used to procure and install as point solution, and you would now consume them as one converged cloud service. So I'm going to speak now a bit about the 4 key components of a SASE architecture, and then I'm going to show you Cato's SASE implementation. But I do want to point out that what Cato has been doing, and we've started the company 5 years ago in 2015, went out from stealth end of 2016 and been selling since. We've been doing this exact thing since day one. This was our vision. This was our goal. This is how our solution is designed to deliver the services that we provide. We are happy, lucky, and fortunate to have an analyst firm like Gartner come 4 years after and say that this is where the industry and the market is heading, and also give it a name. Makes our life easier to explain what we do. So let's speak about the 4 key requirements of a SASE solution. The first one is convergence. A SASE service needs to converge, and this is a quote from Gartner, needs to converge a number of dispersed network solutions. For example, SD-WAN, Secure Web Gateway, CASB, which is Cloud Access Security Broker, Software-Defined Perimeters, DNS and Firewall as a Service. This is exactly what we do. We take all those point solutions, and I'll explain exactly how in a few more slides. We take all those point solutions and we natively converge them. And by saying that we natively converge them, it means that there is one software stack that does everything. You have to be able to distinguish between convergence, which means everything is designed and built to work together, and integration, which means you take multiple components and you integrate them to work as one holistic solution. So we do a convergence, and that is a key requirement of SASE. The second requirement is that the solution has to be cloud native. It needs to be purpose-built to scale out, like a cloud-native solution. If you're using Salesforce or Office 365, let's take Office 365 as an example. Before Office 365, you had an on-prem Exchange server. You started with 100 users, you had to grow up to 1,000 users. You would go through this painful process of thinking, how much servers do I need to add? What would be the storage? How much storage? How much RAM do I need? What version of Windows do I need to run the recent Exchange server application? When you move to Office 365, all you need is a credit card. You give it when you sign up to Office 365, and you can scale up from 100 to 1,000 to 10,000 employees completely elastically without any worrying about the compute infrastructure beneath. This is a cloud-native solution. It means that you as a customer don't care about the underlying compute infrastructure. You just consume the service that you are paying for. And Cato is built to be a converged cloud-native service. We do everything on our cloud servers at native code without any virtual machines, without containers. Everything is done natively on our cloud servers, which allows us to be elastic and to scale as fast as our customers need our service to scale up. The third requirement is global points of presence. SASE, according to Gartner, requires a cloud delivery-based approach, favoring providers with many points of presence. I'll elaborate on that as well. It is also very important for your UCAS and RingCentral case studies. Gartner even goes as far as saying that it isn't sufficient to offer a SASE service that is solely based on public cloud providers' limited number of POPs. If you look at AWS, they have 25 or 27 POPs. Our cloud, Cato's cloud, spans across 50 POPs globally, and it's completely independent from any cloud provider footprint. We control the pace in which we expand our cloud, and I can tell you that since our initiation, we're expanding and building new POPs and adding them to the service at an average pace of somewhere between 3 and 4 new POPs every calendar quarter. There isn't any other public cloud provider that can move and scale up at this pace. And this gives us the ability to better serve our customers. You need to be global in order to bring the service closer to the customers. You have to be close to our POPs in order to get a good performing service. We have to be able to expand the service in order to address the increasing demand of our services worldwide. If you are an organization that is headquartered in England, but you have, I don't know, branch offices or manufacturing in Mumbai, in India, you need to have a Cato POP in Mumbai to get a good service. If you have other locations that we don't have POPs in, then this would go into our POP queue, and we will add more POPs as we see more business demands. But we'll definitely control our own fate in terms of how big our network becomes. The last thing that is a SASE requirement is to support all edges. And this is very, very important. We've seen a lot of solutions that call themselves SASE. I'll speak more about that in a minute, but don't fulfill this promise. And that means, for example, if you take an SD-WAN solution, and there are some SD-WAN players or firewall players that call themselves SASE, but they only provide a solution for branch offices and they overlook remote workforce, or they overlook cloud applications or cloud data center. Cato natively supports all edges. You can connect to our service from your physical branches and headquarters, from your cloud data centers, mobile users, and you can even secure and optimize access to cloud applications like Ring Centrals. This is critical that when you consider a SASE, it always has to answer those 4 requirements: being cloud native, being truly converged, not integrated, being global, and supporting all edges. Now, I'm gonna drill down a little bit now about exactly how our solution look like. And as I said, we are the world's first SASE platform. There are many newcomers joining us now, but definitely our 5 years already into the engineering of this innovative architecture gives us a great advantage and degree of maturity compared to other solutions. So all those POPs that I showed you earlier that we have right now, about more than 50 of, are all interconnected with multiple tier 1 backbone providers. It means that each POP has multiple connections of multi-10 gigs capacity to every other POP that we have in the world. This creates Cato's global private backbone. This backbone allows us to take traffic between 2 locations of your organization, not over the internet, but over our private circuits. It is similar to an MPLS network, where the performance and the availability is guaranteed, but it costs, because of our cloud economics, it costs far less. So we are replacing the MPLS circuits of our customers, giving them more bandwidth and more reliability at a fraction of what they paid for MPLS. There are a lot of things that we can do on the network level. We can optimize traffic that goes to cloud applications and to cloud data centers. We can optimize traffic across your physical locations and from your remote users to your physical locations. We have built-in WAN optimization capabilities that displaces point solutions like the ones from Riverbeds and Bluecoat. We have a global route optimization. The routing algorithms in this cloud are ours. These are not standard routing algorithms. They are not the internet routing algorithms, which favor cost effectiveness of the involved carriers over performance and availability. In our case, each POP that you have an office or a user connected to, for example, you have a user in Singapore that needs to access a data center in New York. Every time a packet from this user needs to travel to New York, the POP in Singapore will calculate in real time what is the optimal route for this specific packet, and it will be carried over this route. It can be sometimes over a single carrier all the way across the world. It can be sometimes between 2 or 3 carriers that we're using with going through another POP in the way. We always calculate the optimal route in real time. We always prefer, by design, performance and availability over everything else. This is the way the service works. This is how it is differentiated from taking global traffic over the internet, and this is what makes it an applicable replacement to global MPLS circuits. We also have built-in enterprise network security. We mentioned that SASE has to be a true convergence. So each and every of our POPs has the full set of capabilities that I'm describing now. We have a built-in next generation firewall, layer 7, fully application aware, deep packet inspection. We have a secure web gateway, which allows you to control access to resources on the internet based on the category, not specific application, makes your life easy and efficient. Advanced threat prevention, which includes an intrusion prevention system and 2 anti-malware engines, one that is targeted to stop known malware and another one that is machine learning based and targeted to stop zero-day and polymorphic malware. And we have capabilities around cloud security and mobile security. So you can govern which users can access what cloud applications and in what conditions. So how would you connect to this SASE cloud of Cato? There are a few options. The most preferred option is to use our Edge SD-WAN device. This is a very small and lightweight device which you would deploy in your branch offices and your data centers. It's a zero-touch device, which means you don't need to do any configuration to it other than connect it to the internet. Once it's connected to the internet, it securely authenticates to our cloud, finds your account, you approve it, and then the site is connected and it's up and running. This device knows to take multiple internet circuits, preferably from multiple technologies like DSL, cable, fiber, etc., or LTE, and aggregate them into one pipe, which is the sum of all the bandwidth. This is what we call active, active, active. We also know to do dynamic path selection, always choosing the best last mile circuits to get to the Cato POP. We can prioritize traffic based on the application and the user. So for example, let's take voice over IP as an example, because we have Marvin from Ring Central right after me. We can make sure that your voice over IP traffic coming out from your branches will have a higher priority on the network over other applications like SMB file transfer, FTP, and general web browsing. That would make sure voice calls don't get dropped. But we have a unique capability here, which is user awareness or identity awareness, which means that even within voice over IP, we can prioritize voice over IP of sales and executives over voice over IP of engineering and operations, for example. We can also overcome packet loss over the last mile. We don't have packet loss over our backbone, so only the last mile is an issue here. And essentially, every feature that you are accustomed to see with any SD-WAN player in the market today is supported and provided by Cato. In our view, SD-WAN is just a feature within the full network transformation and SASE story, and not a justifiable standalone market or product. If you have MPLS circuits, we are happy to continue to support them. This is not a rip and replace type of solution. You can continue maintaining your MPLS and IPVPN circuits. We will manage them for you through our appliances until you come to a degree of confidence that our network is sufficient and reliable enough that you would see for yourself that you can replace MPLS. I can tell you from experience, I've been with the company almost from the very beginning, 4.5 years now. So I've seen a lot of projects that we've done. Most of our customers that come for us for an SD-WAN project come for an MPLS augmentation, which means MPLS bandwidth is not enough, it's too expensive to purchase more, and they want an SD-WAN technology to build an overlay that would augment their MPLS with additional bandwidth for lower priority applications. During the POC stage, not during production, before production, at POC stage, the vast majority of those projects turn from MPLS augmentation to MPLS elimination, because once our customers, our prospects get hands-on on our technology, they see how it can displace MPLS circuits altogether, but we are fully in favor of gradual deployment. You can start with us at a small scale and expand as you gain more confidence and more needs for what we can do. For your data centers, we have a larger model over edge SD-WAN device that has 10 gigs fiber handoffs and support higher throughput, but we can also use an IPsec protocol to connect through existing appliances that you may already have there that are still under contract, like high-end routers and next-gen firewalls. The next piece I want to talk about is the mobile workforce, and I'll elaborate about that in a few more slides. But this is something that other SD-WAN players and backbone providers completely overlook. Mobile workforce is a critical part of the organization today. We've all seen that now with COVID, when entire organizations need to switch to working from home, and in many occasions, they didn't have the infrastructure to support it. With Cato, the mobile users are first-class citizens on their network, exactly like office users. We achieve that by providing them with the exact same services of security and optimization as they would get in the office. And mobile users would install a lightweight Cato VPN client application, which would automatically connect them to the nearest Cato POP, to their whereabouts. If the user is in Singapore, they would connect to a POP in Singapore. If they travel to Hong Kong or to New York or even to England, they would always connect to the nearest Cato POP, and from that POP, they would get on the Cato highway. They would ride our private backbone, benefits from all the optimization that we have. They would go through our enterprise security stack, leveraging all our security capabilities, just as if they were in the office. But the story doesn't end with your physical locations, branches, data centers, and your mobile users. everybody is in some stage of migrating to cloud, their on-prem applications to the cloud, whether it's to cloud data centers like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, or whether it's to cloud applications, which I will get to in a minute. So let's start with cloud data centers. Our POPs are in the same data center facilities as AWS and Azure. We have more, but those where we are overlapping, we are always in the same data center facilities. This means the traffic between a Cato POP and a VNet on Azure or a VPC on AWS are not leaving the data center on backbone network and going out to the internet. The traffic stays between our POP and your instances on AWS and Azure. So all you have to do to connect your VPCs on the cloud, on Cloud Data Center to Cato, is to either install a virtual socket on your Cloud Data Center, or even more easy is to build an IPsec tunnel between our POP in the same data center and your cloud VPC. We support both agent and agentless options. Each has its own benefits and maybe a few shortcomings. But the key value here is that your cloud data centers are now becoming a native part of your WAN, as your physical data centers used to be. And we completely eliminate the need to buy private and expensive connections like Direct Connect and Express Route to guarantee the performance and availability of your cloud data centers. Because your cloud data centers connect to our global cloud and backbone, you would get the same benefit as you would get from those private connections, but even more. Because a private connection, if you buy Express Route or Direct Connect, needs to terminate at a physical location. You would have to backhaul everybody else to that physical location for them to benefit from this connection. But with Cato, everybody else just need to connect to their nearest Cato POP, and from there they would benefit from the same experience of a private connection to your cloud data center. Last piece here are cloud applications. So whether it's RingCentral, like you see here, Salesforce, Office 365, some of those applications are stationed at physical locations and are not globally distributed as our cloud is or as other applications are, which means that you need to make sure that when your users are trying to access those cloud applications, they get an optimal performance, and Cato does that for you. In very few clicks, you can set a rule on our management application that will tell our cloud that if the application is destined to if the traffic, is destined to a specific application, it would egress from our cloud at the Cato POP that is closest to the destination, which means that, for example, if I have a user in, let's say, Melbourne, Australia, that is trying to reach a RingCentral server in Los Angeles, it would get onto our cloud, POP in Melbourne, and it would ride over our private backbone and would come off from our POP in Los Angeles closest to RingCentral. This way, their UCAS traffic wouldn't go over the public internet, but instead over our MPLS like global backbone. Everything that I've just described so far can be fully self-service. This is very, very important. We speak about how digital businesses need to move fast, how IT teams have to support the digital businesses in their agility and flexibility. And for that purpose exactly, we give our customer 100% control of everything that I've just described. Now, if you have a small team or limited resources, Cato or partners like LAN3 can help you manage your account on our cloud, but you always still have the self-service option. Even if you use LAN3 to manage your Cato account, you can always log in and work in parallel or with them to achieve the configuration changes that you need or the monitoring that you're trying to accomplish. So we've mentioned that SASE requires 4 architectural requirements: convergence, cloud-based, global, and all edges. So as you can see, we are fully converged. We converge natively the networking stack and the networking capabilities with the security capabilities. We are cloud-based, so everything is delivered from the cloud service. The edge devices that I showed you, their mere purpose is to find the nearest Cato POP and establish an encrypted tunnel to it. No more than that. All the heavy lifting, all the compute is done in the cloud. so you don't have to worry about compute resources and limitation. It's global. As you saw, we are serving our customers worldwide, and we continue to expand our network. And we support all edges, whether they are physical sites, mobile users, cloud data centers, cloud applications, everything is served by our platform. So once Gartner came with this SASE category in August of last year, we are seeing more and more companies that are SASE claim to fame. And that's legitimate, and Gartner, even in their hype cycle document, when they announced the SASE category, they expected it, and they said, beware, they said to customers, beware of a lot of marketing noise that are going to be around SASE. So after explaining SASE, what SASE is, I want to briefly say what is not a SASE, so you are aware and well educated. First thing SASE is not is chaining point solution. If you buy an SD-WAN from one vendor, and there is an option to do a service chaining to another vendor for security or cloud security, this is not convergence. So if it's not converged, if it's not the same capabilities in one solution, it is not a SASE. The second case is on-premise boxes. SASE has to be cloud in order to deliver the scalability and elasticity that digital businesses need. If Microsoft came to you and say, look, you can get Office 365 in your on-prem servers, you would say, no, that's Exchange, that's not Office 365. Office 365 means that it's cloud, that I don't care about scaling, you care about scaling. And this is what you can't do with on-prem boxes. So if it's not cloud, it's also not global because it's bounded to physical location, and it's definitely not SASE. And the last thing is the telco bundles. We've seen companies like British Telecom and Orange Business Services and T-Systems and many other telcos that would say, look, you have so many appliances and so many products on-prem that you manage, and we understand it's a great headache and you sometimes don't have the manpower to manage them. Let us take it from your hands and do it for you. So they sell what we call the telco bundle. They will integrate and duct tape together all the different solutions that you need and will charge you for it on a monthly basis. Gartner go as far as saying, in Gartner's words here, that SASE is an existential threat to this telco strategy, and this is definitely not convergence and definitely not cloud and not qualified as a SASE. So the last thing I'm gonna say about SASE is that when you come to consider your next technological investment in network or network security, you need to think of SASE as a strategic decision moving forward rather than a tactical decision. We said that IT traditionally, due to the lack of a better solution, would solve point problems with point solutions, right? You had a challenge around MPLS, you'd put in an SD-WAN solution. This is a tactical decision. I'm solving the current problem with an immediate solution. But SASE is a way to future-proof your network transformation journey. Let me give you an example. You need more capacity and lower cost, you start with an SD-WAN. If you buy this SD-WAN from SASE, you're in one platform, or you can buy it from a pure SD-WAN player. Next, you need global connectivity. SD-WAN players don't provide you a solution for global connectivity. So either you started with a SASE and you benefit from the SASE global backbone like Cato, or you now need to go and find another vendor that you can integrate with that will provide you with reliable global connectivity. You need to add security for direct internet access at the branches. Your SASE already has that, but if your SD-WAN doesn't have that, then you also need to now go and find a good cloud security, next-gen firewalls, UTMs, or maybe refresh the ones that you don't have because they reach their compute limitations. The same goes with cloud accelerations when you need to optimize cloud access and with the mobile workforce. If you don't have a solution that already is able to address the growing demand around mobile workforce, then now you need to go and find something and integrate it quickly into your network. And we've seen this in real life right now with COVID, where organizations were not able, IT teams were not able to sustain the immediate shift of everybody moving to work from home. And this is what you end up with. Either you end up with this fragile pile of point solutions that are loosely integrated and due to break every given day and takes a lot of your sleep. Or if you chose a SASE at the first option that you could onboard this transformation, you have future-proofed your network for whatever is coming next. It saves you a lot of time and money. Think about all those evaluation cycles. You need a new next generation firewall. You have a refresh. You go and Google vendors. You get intro calls. You hear what they have to say about themselves and about the others. You do a POC. You negotiate the prices. You run to the procurement. You buy, you integrate. SASE saves you all this hassle because once you get on the SASE platform, everything is already there and you just need to flip a switch to start using it. So the way forward, as I said, is to look beyond the point problem of today and into the opportunity of tomorrow. And this is what Cato is doing. We are the network for whatever's next. And I'm going to switch now. You can read more, by the way, at catonetworks.com/SASE. And I want to speak a little bit about cloud scale remote access. Now, this is an interesting thing. Something happened right now. We have a worldwide pandemic. There is a crisis. Everybody needs to work from home. Traditionally, we used to have a VPN server or a VPN concentrator at one of our offices that was designed to serve some of the users some of the time. But now we need work from home for everyone. And everyone needs to work from home in a way that would not degrade their performance. We can't afford, now that the entire organization is working from remote, we can't afford to have users complaining about how bad their experience is when they work outside the office. In the current VPN, I'll explain more about this, are misaligned with those new requirements, and remote access has to evolve. It has to support the entire business. We've seen the shift now, but even organizations that are surviving through the current COVID-19 with the shift to work from home understand that being able to have everybody work from remote is actually a critical part of the business continuity planning. It's beyond allowing users to connect when they are not in the office on a regular, normal life. So I want to show you what happened on our network. This is a graph that is showing the concurrent users that we have on the service since COVID-19 broke. You can see that in the second half of January, we had about 13,000 VPN users connected simultaneously to our cloud globally. And over the course of those 2 months, this has peaked and it actually crossed the 50,000 threshold last weekend of VPN users currently connected to our service, all at the same time, because our customers moved their employees from the office to their homes. Did our customers feel anything about it? Did they sense any pain or IT challenges delivering their solutions? If they are Cato customers, they did not. If they are not Cato customers, this is what their life looked like. Before COVID-19, they had one VPN server, let's say it was suitable for 300 employees. They would connect to it in an unoptimized manner because this is not the main way of accessing business applications. And through these VPN servers, they would access whatever resources they need to get to. Now, all those organizations have a global scalability bottleneck. They need to add more VPN concentrators to support a significantly larger volume of users. If they are a global organization, in order to optimize access, now they also need to distribute those VPN concentrators across different continents just to allow all their users to suddenly work from home. This is not the case with Cato.
Sorry, it's Martin. Can I just jump in with a question that's been posed?
Absolutely.
You've mentioned there are connection boxes, on-premise connection boxes from Cato. Is it one size fits all, or are there different options?
Great question. So there are two options. There are two sizes fits all. We have a branch model which supports up to 500 megabits per second. This is a definitive number. It doesn't degrade when you turn on more features on the service because all the heavy lifting is done in our cloud. So the branch model is called X1500, supports up to 500 megabits per second. We have a data center model, which has the 10 gig fiber handoffs and supports up to 2 gigs per second of traffic. They all support high availability, dual power supply, etc., etc.
Thank you.
Sure. So going back to the VPN, so this is the challenge customers or non-Cato customers had in scaling up their VPN overnight if they only could. And in Cato case, they already had all the infrastructure from our cloud service. And because we converge and we also take care of all edges, we support the mobile workforce, this was a no-brainer in Cato case. So all those customers that I mentioned before, 500 customers, 45,000 branches, and more than 100,000 users, seamlessly increased their VPN licenses within a single phone call to our partners or to our sales teams, and had their entire mobile workforce shift to working from home. So there is one global backbone. They didn't need to deploy any infrastructure, and they didn't care about how distributed their organization is, because we are already all over the world. I want to speak a little bit about how we do that. When we say that we can scale this elastically, I want to give you a glimpse into a typical architecture of a Cato POP. I said we have more than 50 of those, so think about this replicated multiple times over. When we say that we have multi-gig elastic capacity, it means that each of the servers that we have in our POPs that run our own software can support thousands of tunnels, and we can scale them up seamlessly. We add more servers, all the traffic is automatically load balanced. Everything that comes in, whether it's from an office or a worker, is load balanced across the different CPUs and our servers. And we also have self-healing capabilities, which means that if one component breaks, it is automatically taken out of service and other components take their role and replace it, continuing to deliver the service to our customers. We are doing this as good as being able to not even drop a voice over IP call if one of our compute servers fail. But our basic configuration, as you can see here, is that our initial POP setup supports about 60 gigs per second of traffic and tens of thousands of tunnels out of the gate. For example, this is a quote from one of our customers undergoing this COVID-19 challenge. We hit the high 800s today on our VPN users count. This would have crippled our Cisco AnyConnect appliance. So thank you, Cato, for making my life a little less stressful. For this customer, for EAB, moving from the 100 VPN users he had to 800 was completely effortless.
Another quick question for you, Wael. Sorry. Is pricing based on different terms, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, or and can you pay monthly or annually in advance? And do you pay upfront or do you pay upfront for the whole term?
Okay, so we price based on bandwidth in your physical locations and cloud data centers, and based on the volume or the amount of mobile users. It's a combination. Our pricing cycles are annual. You can't pay month by month, only annually. And there are some non-recurring costs, like the appliances that I mentioned, that are one-time payment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. So moving on. Remote access for everyone, everywhere. So as I said, once the VPN users connect to our cloud, they benefit from the same optimization and security that they used to have when they had in the office. It's the same network stack, the same optimization, the same enterprise-grade security that works everywhere and is available for everyone. Now, we even had customers that now in COVID-19 came to us only for our remote access. They didn't have us for their SD-WAN or for their security. They will surely expand to that in the near future. But right now they had to solve their global crisis of moving all their workers to work from remote. And this is actually achievable with very simple 3 steps. One, connection to your on-prem data centers. Don't have to install a socket or a device if you can't access it physically. As I said, we can do it over an IPsec tunnel. The second thing would be to connect your cloud data centers that your users need to reach. And the third thing is to provision them with the remote access. It can either be with the client through a self-service portal that we have, or it can be through a clientless access over a web browser like legacy SSL VPN. In all cases, the same optimization and security apply, and within 24 hours, we can enable a global scale remote access for your organization even if you haven't been a Cato customer before. Part of the beautiful aspects of SASE is that you can start with one piece of what we do and then expand later when you see the need, what we call gradual deployment. So I'll finish this part with a bit of a customer rave. PaySafe, a global payment company, told us, and this was even before COVID actually, that Cato Mobile is my secret BCP in my back pocket. If my global network goes down, I can be like Batman and whip this thing out. Westmoreland Mining told us we found ourselves having to rapidly increase our capacity to support a larger than normal remote workforce and successfully rolled out over 150 VPN clients within 24 hours, something you can surely not do with physical appliances. And Geosyntec told us the easily deployed single sign-on and web filtering integration provided additional layers of security for VPN users. The Cato solution is simple to deploy yet robust. It improves our employees' ability to securely and productively work remotely. So actually by switching to Cato, the lives of the mobile workforce got even better than they work with the legacy solution. So it's not only about capacity constraints, but also about optimization and better security for everyone. So you can read more about this in catonetworks.com/software-defined perimeter, SDP. And I'm going to finish with a couple more slides about our relations with RingCentral. We love RingCentral. It's a great UCAS and the perfect match to go together with our SASE platform. Actually, if you look at the places in which RingCentral has data center on the map, you would see that Cato has POPs in those exact same data centers. So if your users are close to a RingCentral data centers, you would access it directly. But if they are remote, you can use Cato to get on our private highway and route freely and without any packet loss or issues and with prioritized traffic all the way to the nearest RingCentral data center, making sure that your UCAS traffic gets optimized and is performing like you would expect a modern, top-notch voice over IP solution. We are an official connectivity partner for RingCentral. We announced this partnership a little over a year ago. And during our evaluation by RingCentral at the time when this partnership was established, RingCentral reported that through Cato's RingCentral testing, Cato Network was able to guarantee high-quality voice calls even with more than 15% network packet loss. This is the power of our service. Wherever you're connected from, wherever you need to go, even specifically with voice over IP traffic delivered from a great UCAS like RingCentral, Cato is a great solution to everything your enterprise needs. And with that, I will hand it over back to you, Martin.
Thank you very much, Al. I have one more question for you,
Sure.
Which is a good question, and I already know what the answer is, and I like it. Can I get a proof of concept, and how long would that proof of concept last for?
So the answer is yes, and 5 minutes. But yes, we definitely favor proof of concepts. They are very, very easy to do with Cato. Think about signing up with the cloud platform that you want to try. You want to try Salesforce. It takes you a few days to get over the system, see the functionality. The same with Cato. Plan 3 can enable you with the proof of concept, and you'll be able to see all the benefits that it provides within days, if not hours.
Yes, to add to that, LAN 3 has got a pool of Cato sockets, so we can run those proof of concepts with any of the customers that we have. Brilliant. Thank you very much. I'll really appreciate that.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for your time and listening.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Marvin?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Lovely. Thank you.
Oh, good morning, even. Okay, just confirming you can see my slides.
We can.
Awesome. So thank you everybody for joining today. I'd just like to, before I move on, thank Al for his presentation. So some really interesting topics in there. Ring Central, we don't sell network, but it's super important. You don't have a cloud without a network. It's great having a really good cloud service where you can spin up new consumers, whatever it is they're consuming around the globe in minutes. But if managing your network becomes problematic, it really becomes problematic for the cloud. So we're gonna circle back on the network through my presentation and demonstration a couple of times as well. But Il's completely correct in that we have a connectivity partner program. So we work with Cato networks to make the network as simple to manage as possible. And one of the things that we do within that program is we've created the configuration files for the Cato appliances, so that you upload that configuration file into your appliance, and your network is configured for Ring Central in minutes, really. So it's just a really interesting topic. So my name is Marvin Tress. I am a solutions engineering leader at Ring Central. I work in a team of more than 150 solution engineers covering the globe. I've been at Ring Central actually for just on a year now. And my prior background has always been in the communications industry at the likes of industry behemoth Avaya, and large household brand names such as Vodafone, and been in the industry for longer than I care to mention nowadays. So today we're going to talk to you about how organizations are pushing the button on remote working. It's a really interesting time in the history of the world, absolutely. It's also a really interesting time to be in the communications industry as well. We get to see what has been a working practice that has been offered by some organizations to some employees become literally the only way to work. And we get some really interesting insights with some of the customers that we're working with to see what they're doing to adapt to this situation. And I think there was definitely, a moment of realization a few weeks ago where many organizations realized that they, maybe couldn't work from home or flexibly as effectively as they thought they could. Similar to Cato networks, we see a huge increase in consumption on our platform. We're currently running at about plus 150% on our platform, and that's largely driven by the COVID and organizations that needed to find a way to work quickly. Luckily, we capacity manage our network to the capacity of 4 times. So we were able to take that additional capacity and volume of customers literally overnight, really. I would say probably, in the space of 2 weeks, it literally skyrocketed. One of the other things we're doing as well is I'm quite proud to be working for Ring Central at this time, because we're also able to give back. So we've been doing a lot of work with non-profit organizations such as schools and hospitals. I really feel like I'm on the front line fighting COVID at Ring Central. And it's quite a nice feeling, actually. So in order to be able to do all of this, to scale up, to work flexibly, to work differently, and to do that globally, you need to know that the services that you're using are able to cope. So our platform is built, as I said, with 4 times capacity management in there, elastic infrastructure based on microservices. But I'll go through the way that we build our platform as we move forward. We've got some pretty unique views on how to build the cloud. And prior to working at Ring Central, I've never quite seen anything like it, and it continues to impress me on a daily basis. So we also start to see in the current situation now, we're really starting to see how technology has become so important to people. So you know, from a work perspective, sure, productivity is still key. I actually believe I'm more productive working flexibly and working from home. And you also don't need to give me that desk and the computer and the canteen and, you know, all of that office stuff. I don't need either. So I think there's a real win-win for organisations when we talk about flexible working. But what has really come to the fore as part of this situation as well, you know, productivity is still key, sure, but not as important as mental health. And we really start to see now, you know, that customer experience still rules, but you know, you still need to consider, you know, how are your people adapting to this new situation, and how can you use technology to help that. You know, before we called it video adoption, how are people using this technology? You know, right now it's more about how can we use this technology to help people, and I see that in my team. You know, as a solutions engineering team leader, one of my primary focus is on people, and some interesting things happen that I'll talk about throughout this presentation today. Within my team as well, which just made me stand back and think a little bit about how technology is changing the world. You know, before I used to look at my kids on iPads and I'd be like, oh, I hate those things. This situation has given me food for thought, and it's made me stop and think. So the nation is absolutely pushing the button on remote working. Everybody is remote now. You know, we kind of didn't have a choice, but everyone is remote now, and I do question when the lockdown restrictions start to be eased. I wonder what will happen. You know, are we all going to go running back to offices, or is this the new normal? So before we dive into the technology, let's say, I just wanted to very quickly cover you know, who RingCentral are. So, you know, we're a big company and we're doing big things in the comms industries. Lots of organisations throw around the term, we are transforming this industry. You know, we are disrupting this industry. We actually are. You know, we were founded in 1999. We've been around for 21 years providing cloud communications services. We actually started out delivering internet fax. Back in the day, you know, putting fax through the internet, this was actually quite an impressive thing. Then we kind of saw the evolution of PBX, and at this point in time, every single PBX was on premise, but we decided to build ours in the cloud. You know, our CEO had a vision to deliver computing from the cloud before it, you know, really became a big thing, and he hedged his bets on that, and you know, we're here now. Everything RingCentral do is 100% cloud-based. The way that the network and the platform is built as well, the service that you consume, it's a guaranteed 5 nines out of the box. It's, you know, it's a highly reliable service that will be down for, you know, just a minute or two a year. All of that is available globally as well. So wherever you spin up your users, you get local compliance, you get a local telephone number all around the world with 5 nines. But we also recognized a while back that there was a paradigm shift occurring, not just in this industry, but with the whole, really, with the whole world. And this was all around, you know, the technical term would be asynchronous messaging, but you know, think about social messaging. You know, lots of people prefer to communicate via, you know, text-based interactions now rather than phone calls, let's say. So in 2015, we acquired a company called Clip, and our platform brought messaging to the business in a way that wasn't possible before, but a bit more on that later. That innovation tells a story. So this is the Gartner Magic Quadrant, and along the x-axis we've got completeness of vision, and up along the y-axis we're talking about ability to execute. So really, you know, for a UCaaS player worldwide, your aim is to be in the top right-hand corner, and the farther right top right-hand corner you are, the more of a leader you are considered. And what's really interesting about this slide for me, and Gartner, by the way, they are, industry analysts for lots of different communications sectors, UCaaS, contact center as a service, all of that kind of good stuff. They are kind of regarded as one of the ones to listen to. Gartner have us down as having a more complete vision. We are further to the right than Microsoft and Google. You just think about that for a second. Our vision is more complete than Microsoft and Google. And then if you look up the left-hand side, our ability to execute is on a par with Microsoft and Google. Just think about that for a second. How big are these companies? How much weight do these companies have? RingCentral, according to Gartner, have a more complete vision, and we are more able to execute than Microsoft and Google. Well, that is really quite something. But a theme starts to emerge, when you start to look across other industry analysts and the information that they put out. So this is, the Frost & Sullivan radar. So it's a similar concept to the Magic Quadrant we just saw. Essentially, you want to be in that kind of green section there, and the further out you are towards the top right-hand corner, really the best, the better it is. And we occupy the prime real estate in this analyst radar. We're exactly where we need to be. And we do that, not just across UCaaS, contact center as well. We do a lot in contact center, and Forrester did a research with some of our customers. So this wasn't with us. They actually spoke to some of our contact center user companies about the benefits that they saw from using RingCentral within the contact center, and the ROI was to be quite frank, insane, 615%. The payback was short. So we play in the UCaaS and the contact center space, but what we're seeing is we're growing faster than the rest of the market. The inflection point from on-premise communication systems to cloud communication systems, we are way past that now. On-premise systems, bar a few customers with really, really unique requirements, they're finished. It's a thing of the past. Everybody's moving to the cloud. Look at some of the partnerships that we make, in the industry with the likes of Avaya, right? They are contact center personified, right? They have been the industry leader for a long time. Avaya chose to partner with RingCentral for their UCaaS service. Why is that? And it's because of the platform that we've built and the way that we've built it. We are growing faster than the rest of the market. We are considered the leader in unified communications as a service in terms of both revenue and subscriber seats. And I believe one of the reasons for that is it's really about our R&D, our strategy towards how we develop our products and services. We invest a lot of our money back into the product. When you see the product, when you consume the product as a service, you get quarterly updates like clockwork. Those updates are included in your subscription. You just keep getting access to new features all the time, and those new features, they can be quite basic features, PBX type features, but we also do some really clever stuff with things like AI. So to give you an example, a video meeting, when you leave this meeting and click leave meeting, what do you do then? Do you go off and do something else? You might go and get a cup of coffee. You might put this meeting a bit much further to the back of your mind. How do we keep that meeting going? Can we use speech analytics to gather the actions that were assigned during the meeting? Can we transcribe that speech using speech analytics to text? And can we use AI to allocate those meeting actions to people that were in the meeting? That's an example of how you can keep the meeting going. So we develop our product in some, really impressive ways. We've got a really unique view on where technology is going in the future, and we'd love to talk to you a little bit more about that. So this is kind of, we call this the Ring Central Universe slide, and it describes everything that we do. What we do is help business, just to labour that point a minute, business, we are not a consumer company. There are some SaaS platforms that you may consume that are largely consumer focused. We don't consider ourselves to be like that. We are business centric. So everything that we do in terms of security and capacity and everything like that, all of our systems and processes, they are geared towards business. It's not geared towards the consumer market. And that's really, really important. We've seen in the past few weeks to some of the more consumer focused vendors, what a month they've had, right? They've onboarded millions and millions of new users to their platform. But then all of the security challenges start to come out for the businesses that are using those platforms. So we want to be very clear. We're designed for business, and we help those businesses to communicate from anywhere, internally or externally, with customers and partners. Our portfolio essentially includes, we split it into three major sections. So over on the right in orange, this is our UCaaS service. So we call this Ring Central Office. And Ring Central Office is essentially comprised of a cloud PBX. It's available globally and it's guaranteed 5 nines. So this includes all of your calling functionality, things like call queues, call recording, endpoints, right down into analytics. How many calls did we receive today? How many calls did we receive last week? More importantly, how many calls did we not receive last week? How many customers could we not talk to for whatever reason? So that whole analytics piece is built into as well. But also, how many customers are waiting to be answered now? When you go remote or disparate, how do you manage a disparate team? How do you know that you're still providing that same service or better is the goal to your customers? And we do that with the analytics. I will show you a lot of this later as a live demo. So it will make a little bit more sense to you shortly. But then video is also in here, is a massive part of what's going on at the minute. We see schools using video to teach, and doctors using video to diagnose nowadays. Video is something that's been around for a while, but I felt like it didn't really get adopted in the enterprise like we imagined it would. Social, massive. I think those paths are converging now, and we will start to see video become more and more and more and more popular. But then also, your meetings and messaging capability. So, when you're working from home, it is my opinion that a phone call is quite a formal thing. To pick up the phone to somebody, you need to have a purpose a lot of the times to phone somebody. An email as well is quite a formal way to talk to somebody. You don't really chit-chat in the same way over a phone call or an email as you might do with team messaging. So that's a massive focus. We brought messaging to the forefront of our platform and service because we believe that is the future. We believe that is the way businesses will end up communicating eventually. That's how we do it today. Interesting fact for today, number 1, at Ring Central, we don't use email. So I found that out on my first day, and it took me a while to compute, but we just communicate by team messaging. We don't use email, and we believe that is where organizations will end up. We're already there, but we believe that's the way it's going. Over on the left-hand side, this is our contact center portfolio. So whether you want to talk inbound, outbound voice, whether you want to talk web chat, whether you want to talk email, or even whether you want to talk over 20 social channels. So when you talk to a lot of your providers about contact center, Most of them can do Facebook and Twitter. Some of them can do WhatsApp. So they're the three ones really that are, you know, quite common. You know, ask your provider, can you support Instagram as a digital channel? How about Google reviews? When someone reviews our business on Google, can we embed communications into that? Our digital platform supports over 20 social digital channels. Again, inbound and outbound. Whether you want to talk about outbound dialing, whether that's, you know, informal preview kind of dialing, or, you know, a proper large scale outbound campaign, we do all of that in our contact center portfolio. And again, it's all 100% cloud, and that's called Ring Central Contact Center. So on the right hand side, sorry, in orange, we've got Ring Central Office, and then on the left hand side in blue, we have Ring Central Contact Center. All of this is built and powered by the Ring Central network and platform. That's the bit you can see in the middle. It's the center of the universe. So the network extends to nearly 50 countries where you can consume the full Ring Central service. What do I mean by full service? A local telephone number in that country, local compliance to emergency services and any regulations that may exist in that country, all within a web-based store that you can get access to and just spin up these users in moments in nearly 50 countries. It's a true global platform. So Eyal talked about POPs earlier and where their network presence is. Because it's a global service and communications traffic is time sensitive, it's really important that our network can handle that traffic super quick. So you know, SD-WAN is one really important mechanism to do that on the network. On our network, we have 29 POPs distributed globally, and the idea of the POP is, let's say we have some users in America and they're making and receiving calls. We have POPs near to those people, so that any calls that they make in and out or in between each other in America, or inbound outbound calls in America, all of that media stays local in America. And essentially what we're saying there is a Ring Central call, because of the way that we've deployed our network, wherever you are in the world, it's the best quality call you'll ever make. We also support HD voice as well, so we use the Opus codec, which has a better quality than something, for the technical people on the call, you might have heard something called G711. That was the gold standard in high quality voice. It gave you the best speech quality, but it consumed the most bandwidth. Opus is the next evolution. It gives you HD voice. A Ring Central call is also the most secure call that you'll ever make with every interaction. So everything is encrypted in transit and at rest. So y'all talked earlier about encryption across your connectivity network. We can encrypt every single voice call, and we can encrypt data, or we do encrypt data at rest, your data that's at rest in our data centers. So it's completely secure out of the box as well. But this bit in the middle as well, it's all about integrations and APIs. So I'll show you the Ring Central app gallery a little bit later. You can actually find over 200 out-of-the-box integrations. So these are things that are included in your subscription. You just download them and go and use them. I also want to talk a little bit about security. This is, in my opinion, one of the differentiators of our platform. So for anybody that's been involved in VoIP or communications over the internet at any point in time, you may or may not have heard of SIP. SIP for a long time has been the gold standard of communications. That's also going to change. WebRTC is the future. Our platform is built on WebRTC from the ground up. So why is WebRTC so important? No installation required. If we think about COVID-19, people had to go home very quickly and start working. And when you have things to install and configure and all of that kind of stuff, it becomes quite tricky. WebRTC gets around that problem because you can consume whatever the service is that you want to consume using WebRTC. You consume it through a browser. So most people have access to a browser. Chrome is definitely the browser that's leading with WebRTC, and it allows you, and this is how I work. I use 365 in Chrome. I use my RingCentral applications in Chrome. I access Salesforce in Chrome. Everything I do in Chrome, and I just jump between tabs. So I'm using one application. I didn't have to install a single thing. So you can just start communicating straight away. Zero download. It's also good for things like where you're having meetings with external participants, maybe your customers or some partners that you work with. It's a better guest user experience. If you've not got to install anything, it becomes a one-click to join, zero download. The next concept I wanted to introduce with WebRTC is, think about the Chrome browser. RingCentral, we don't develop the Chrome browser. Hundreds of thousands of millions of people around the world are using and developing the Chrome browser outside of RingCentral. And what that means is we benefit from all of that experience. You benefit by using Chrome browser with WebRTC. You benefit from the inherent security and functionality that is built into the browser. WebRTC is by default secure. When you communicate through the browser, it is by default secure. For any kind of communications that you put through it, from a website perspective, we're using TLS. When we send voice calls through the browser, we're using SRTP. So WebRTC is natively secure, and you don't need to worry about that. Other people are doing that for you. The security patches are issued to you. You just benefit from this massive scale of people that are bought into and developing Chrome. There's a hugely popular ecosystem that sits around WebRTC. And it essentially turns communications from a service into a feature. Imagine if all of your users could just simply go home tomorrow, turn on a device of some sort, and just carry on where they left off. The next evolution of WebRTC is to take that security functionality and to turn it into something that looks a little bit more of an application. So these are called progressive web apps. So all of the applications that RingCentral provide, they are available in a browser. But you might, for some reason, want a locally installed version of that application, a client, let's call it. And we do that as well. But we still use WebRTC, but we build it as a progressive web app. So to the user, it looks like a locally installed client, but from a technology perspective, it's still just a browser, and it's still using WebRTC, and it still leverages all of the security and all of that kind of good stuff that we get from the weight of Chrome. The other thing about progressive web apps is they are inherently designed to be used on any device. So it doesn't matter what kind of device you're using. A progressive web app is developed so that the real estate will resize itself based on the device and the size of the screen and all of that kind of stuff. So moving on, what we're actually offering is flexibility. So if you think about in the past working from home, offering that to your employees was often considered by the generations to be not a benefit. It's a standard nowadays. I think a lot of people want that flexibility to work flexibly, but as we've seen, we also need to offer safety to your employees. I did a webinar with the NHS not so long ago. It was really, really interesting to hear them talk. They have over 280 back office systems. They don't want to add any more. They want to bring communications into those systems and workflows. And it was really interesting hearing them talk about, why they are adopting remote working. Remote working. You wouldn't necessarily put the NHS and remote working together, but essentially what they're trying to do is maintain a non-infected workforce. In case the NHS is overwhelmed, they will ask these people to come into the hospitals to, help the fight. So it's just a really interesting call. So what we're essentially what we're offering is, a work-life balance. People work differently today. Tomorrow they'll work differently again. Even when we can go out, work isn't necessarily a place we go to anymore. It's something that we do. Sometimes you work in between places. You might be traveling from one place to another, and you might expect to work there. So we're really providing that work-life balance. And this is pretty normal to Ring Central. It's just the way that we work. It's about productivity as well, for sure. As I said earlier, I believe I'm more productive when I'm working from home, but also from a staff attrition and hiring perspective. The generations, they now actively look for this when they're considering a new role. And if you can't offer flexible working, I think that, they definitely notice that. But as far as safety is concerned, we're using technology to make sure everybody is okay, really. We see people having virtual parties at the weekend. We're doing similar things at Ring Central. We've gone from one weekly team meeting, which lasted an hour, to, we actually have 4 now that last 20 minutes. And it's really just about constantly checking in. We have a really loose agenda. It's literally just making sure that everyone's okay. And something happened the other day. I had my camera turned off, and one of my teammates actually, said, "Marvin, come on, turn your camera on. I want to see that you're all right, not just hear that you're all right," which kind of stopped me in my tracks and made me think a little bit as well. So really interesting. So how do you keep control of activity? How do you manage your virtual team? And analytics becomes key. Historical reporting, what happened last week, last month. We give you that out of the box with Ring Central performance reports. How many agents are not available to answer customers right now? How many customers are not getting answered? That's called live reports, Ring Central live reports. Network performance. How is your network performing? We can see all of the ISPs that your global users are using. We can see over which kinds of networks they are connecting. Are they connecting over 4G, 5G, Wi-Fi, a wired connection? Where are they connecting from? And what kind of device are they using? Is it an iPhone? Is it a physical IP phone? Or are they using a Chrome plugin? All of that information is available within the Quaz reports, which I'll show you shortly. And then adoption reports. Is your flexible working strategy working? Who is your most prolific messaging user? What is really good about that? What are they doing right? Why are they so prolific? Who's not using messaging at all? Let's do more of what this guy over here is doing. Let's find out about that, and let's make that strategy to make sure that the strategy that we're implementing is having the effect you thought it would. And as mentioned earlier, we do that over every channel. So voice, email, web chat. Think about Instagram, think about Google, think about YouTube. These are all the channels that we can support. We've got 22 in total now. But also think about this: when you are communicating with your customers over the internet, think about yourself. How many digital personas do you have in the social media world? I know my Twitter handle is different from my Facebook handle, from my WhatsApp profile, from my Google profile. So we get this concept of multiple social personas. And what we do within our digital platform is we use AI to start to build the profile of the customer. So we start to join all of these disparate digital identities into a single customer profile. So whichever channel they communicate with you on, it's them straight away. RingCentral is really simple to set up. I'm going to show you this in the demo in a minute. You can add users in minutes. I'm going to show you the app gallery as well. We've got over 200 out-of-the-box integrations that you could just go and use. If you want an app, you can download the app instantly on any device from, we're in all app stores, essentially. Chrome extensions, Apple Store, Android Store, we're in them all. Or just do it through a browser, and you get access to secure by default enterprise-grade communications. Video is a big part of it. We're seeing a huge rise in the consumption of video now. I think that, people want to be with other people right now. In this time of not seeing people, which is nice in some ways, but people want that human touch, and this I feel like is where home working gets personal, but is also managed. So before we dive into the demo, here's a quote from one of our customers, Dave Preston, at Fulham Football Club actually, and to quote his words, "I'm not sure I'll go back to working the way I did before this crisis. But that's partly due to the service excellence and capabilities we've discovered in systems such as RingCentral, highlighting quite how inefficient my meetings and communication were before." We've got loads of these reviews. It's really important to know that, as you go on your journey to cloud, communications is a really important part of that. And how do you weave all of those cloud services together to give you the freedom to work from anywhere, to get up and running faster with more reliability so that you can work the way you need to from anywhere. So I'm just very quickly going to jump into a demonstration. Everything I'm about to show you is within a browser. As I mentioned earlier, we do have applications. If you want to download them and install them locally, we can do that too. They are still WebRTC applications, but yeah, we've got all options really. For a demo, it's easy for me to demonstrate within a browser, and I think it also demonstrates where we're actually going with browsers in the future as well. So what you can see now on your desktop is called the RingCentral app. This is the application through which you will communicate you can communicate in different ways. So messaging, we believe that messaging is going to become the #1 mode of communications in the future. We start to see, in the past we had one-to-one messaging, instant messaging. That's changing now. We're moving towards a team messaging paradigm where we can communicate with individuals, but we can also communicate in teams. Those teams might be based on a specific project you're working on, but we also use this, as a company-wide strategy. This is how we communicate strategically as a company. This is what we use, by the way, to communicate at RingCentral. It's all we use. As really big things happen with products and people within our organization, it's all within here. And then as you communicate within the messaging streams, and I'll show you a little bit more about that in a minute, it's really important if you need to jump out of that communications channel and into another one. Maybe you're messaging a colleague, "How are you today?" And maybe they actually reply, "Do you know what? I'm not so great today." Okay, I'm going to call you. You just want to jump to a phone call or a video call straight away. So you need to be able to jump between those channels as well. And I'll show you how that works. Video, again, another really big part of the RingCentral app. Calling and contacts. So really, the RingCentral app becomes your single pane of glass through which you communicate internally, but also externally as well. You do not need to be a RingCentral subscriber to communicate with your organization. So let's say you work with, I'm going to use the example of a consultant. They don't work for you. They do not have an email address on your domain. but you work very closely with them and you want to communicate with these people frequently, and you don't want them to have to pay for it. What we can do when we move into our messaging paradigm, we've got this concept of guest users. So I can add a guest user to my RingCentral app, either for one-to-one messaging or as part of a team, simply by adding their email address. That guest user gets an email invitation to download the RingCentral app and start communicating with me, if it's one-to-one, or within the team. And when I say communicating, I mean calling each other, I mean videoing each other, but I also mean within teams sharing content. So we integrate our strategy, our RingCentral strategy is not to be the best at everything, but to be the best at what we do. So we are not a cloud storage company. What we do is we make our platform completely open. So using APIs, we hook into the best of everything and we build up the best of breed cloud solution. One example is Google Drive. If I wanted to share some content from Google Drive, I literally, due to the integration that's just native within the application, I just click on Google Drive and go and attach something from my Google Drive. Now, what is really important about that is your Google Drive sharing settings persist and the data stays on Google Drive. We're essentially linking to that document. So when somebody goes to access this document, it's conforming to your security policy that you have implemented within Google Drive as to whether or who can and cannot access that information. And that's really important where, when we're talking about your data, we're not storing it in our cloud. It stays in Google or whatever your cloud storage solution is. Emojis, brilliant. Yeah. GIFs. We love a GIF at RingCentral. This kind of way of communicating, for me, changes the culture of an organization. And that's what we're starting to see now in COVID is that, it's okay to be different. Think about 10 years ago, if one of my children showed up on a video call, I probably would have been told off. I would have got into trouble about it. Nowadays, it's kind of changed, really. So we have this real social way of communicating at RingCentral. Look at your kids. Imagine if you could get your employees communicating as fiercely, as often, and with a similar amount of ferocity as my son when you see him on an iPad. Imagine what would happen. Your productivity would go through the roof. So it's all about encouraging people to communicate. It's about keeping it business, keeping it secure, keeping it reliable, but, making it familiar to the users. Everyone's on social media pretty much nowadays. This is a very familiar way for them to communicate. It also becomes a really good repository for content. So anything that you share, you can search for. So what you get with the RingCentral app is essentially it's unlimited cloud storage. So what do I mean by that? Key takeaway number one, first of all, any content that you share in the RingCentral app, there is no limit on file size. So let's say I have a absolutely huge Visio document. Let's say it's 2 gig and I want to share it with someone. I definitely can't email it with them to them. I might need to hook into an FTP site or something like that. You just attach it from your computer to the RingCentral conversation. You can share anything of any size. Need to know fact number 2 is anything shared within the RingCentral app by default is stored forever. So when I joined RingCentral, I was automatically added into lots of teams. So when I fired up my app for the first time, I was in the product managers team, I was in the solutions engineering team, I was in the sales teams, the marketing teams, and I can start to see straight away people are communicating but I can also look back years and years and years, and I can see the evolution of the product within the RingCentral app, and you can search for that information as well. So every team that you're a member of, everybody that you've communicated with, it's logged in the app and it becomes searchable. We also pin all of this content over here on the right hand side. We call this the shelf. So as content is shared, it will appear up here, and that's another way that you can go and find that content as well. We support presence, and we support messaging statuses as well. From a video perspective, everything is embedded again within the application. You can start, schedule, and join meetings from here. Massive apologies. I'm just going to turn on my calendar integration. In fact, it's moved. It's down here. So we can integrate into calendars. Apologies for this. Essentially, what the calendar integration does is twofold. So first of all, in the RingCentral app, where we saw the green jelly bean, which indicated that I was available, that is now driven from my calendar status. So any meetings in my Outlook calendar where they're set to show my status as busy, then that will be pushed into the RingCentral app. So you get automatic presence. You can change it manually if you want to do that. But the second thing, there we go. And that wasn't configured before, by the way. That's an example of how easy it is to kind of do things on RingCentral. So the second thing it does, it will pull all of the the invitations that I have in my calendar into the RingCentral app, and wherever there is joining information, it will pass it into a one-click to join. From a calling perspective, again, we're talking about a 5 nines service here. This whole thing is 5 nines guaranteed. You've got your calling functionality in here as well, in the form of a keypad if you want to do that. But also we have the call log that you can click, and we also have the ability to search through contacts, things like company directories, my contacts, all of that kind of good stuff. So they're all imported into the RingCentral app as well. So it's really message, video, and phone all within a single pane of glass. Now that's really cool. One of the things that I think is unique about the RingCentral app, and I'm going to make a comparison here, and I'm only going to do it once. I'm kind of going to compare it to Microsoft Teams. Microsoft, every single Microsoft user has access to Microsoft Teams, and it does a really good job of what it does. It is my opinion that Microsoft Teams tries to do a lot. So things like file storage, where we lean on Box, Dropbox, customer SFTP sites for storage, Google Drive, they kind of have that. Everything is in-house. I think the net result of that is that the desktop client itself can become a little bit cumbersome. Ours is a little bit more like WhatsApp. It's really easy to understand how to use. I want a message, I want a video, I want a call, I want to attach something, I want to send an emoji. But then to launch out of a team call into a team video session or an audio only call, it's literally a one click, and you get a similar thing from direct messages as well. If I need to escalate this conversation to a voice call or a video call, I literally just do it by pressing these buttons. It's just really simple. It's really clean to use. And because it's a progressive web app as well, the interface is optimized for performance, so you will never get lag within the RingCentral app either. Now that's all great, but there is a but. A lot of customers tell us that, well, I don't want to use the RingCentral app. As amazing as it is, I already have a strategy for desktop, and I want the 5 nines PBX. I'm also global as well. I want to be able to deploy users globally in minutes. I just don't want to use your app because I've already got a desktop. I'm invested in it. what can we do there? Well, remember earlier we spoke about the Ring Central platform. All of the APIs. Ring Central is completely open. Every subscribing customer can get access to the APIs. If they want to develop something themselves, they can do that. They've got access to a sandbox. Doesn't cost them anything. It's included in their subscription. Go and do it. But we also have 200 plus out-of-the-box integrations. So what you can see now is the 365 integration, or part of the 365 integration. So it's this thing over here, right? We embed a soft phone. This is a Chrome extension because I'm in a browser. We also have locally installed versions of this for things like Outlook as well. So we can embed this thing into Outlook. And it essentially embeds full Ring Central communications capability into that application. So to make a call, to search for contacts, call logs, messaging, voicemails, call recordings, facts, contact consolidation. This is included in your subscription. If you use 365 and you are a Ring Central subscriber, just go to the Ring Central app gallery, download the integration, install it, away you go. It also includes meetings, to add meetings or meeting information to your invitations is really simple. On the browser, we use these widgets up here. In Outlook, you'll have a similar plugin on the toolbar. We do the same thing in Google. In fact, we do the same thing in more than 200 cloud solutions. Here's an example of the Google one. You see this soft phone again, same look and feel embedded into Google, supports click to dial. So anywhere there's a number, you don't need to be in this soft phone. You can minimize it and you can just click to dial or click to message from within here as well. Same thing for Microsoft Teams. This is the Microsoft Teams web app again. So this is a Chrome extension. Essentially what we do is we take over, the communications controls in the Teams desktop, and we send those communications via Ring Central instead of Microsoft. Now the reasons to do that are, number one, SLA, Ring Central 5 nines guaranteed on voice, video, messaging, content sharing, 5 nines guaranteed. You might have access to Microsoft Teams, but do you have access to Cloud PBX? That's essentially, the voice calling, the Cloud PBX functionality. You have to pay extra for that. When you do that, you only get 3 nines. So if reliability is of a concern, a Ring Central subscription, which costs less than upgrading to E5, will also give you a much higher level of resilience. We're also available in nearly 50 countries now. At last count, Microsoft were able to expand into 13 countries. So if you need to expand your global footprint, you do that with Ring Central really, really easily.
Marvin, can I ask a question?
You can.
Obviously, it's great to see all of these different desktops that you integrate into. What about customers who have desk phones, IP phones on their desks? Does Ring Central support those phones?
Yeah, we do. So it's a really, really interesting question. It's interesting. I do sometimes miss out the IP phones. But a lot of our customers are a mobile workforce. But that said, we absolutely support physical IP phones. What I would say to you is, if your IP phone supports SIP, then the chances are you can get them working with Ring Central. We haven't tried them all. There's no way we can, but we have tried some, and we've documented how to do it. In conjunction with your partner, or maybe you might like to try it yourself. Spin up a POC, make it. I heard someone ask about POCs earlier. It's really interesting with cloud solutions how easy it is to run a POC. Make that part of your POC to test your endpoints. But you can bring your own phones to Ring Central. Do they use SIP is probably the really important question that you want to be asking yourself there. You can also buy phones from Ring Central. So I'm just going to very quickly show you, when you add a user to Ring Central. So this is the service web platform. I'm going to add 10 users in Australia. It doesn't get further away than that. It doesn't get, in terms of time zones, more opposed than that. Sounds quite hard to open a new office in Australia. I'm going to do it in 5 minutes. There's 20 people in this office. They're in Western Australia, Perth actually. The phones are also included in our storefront. So when you order a phone from Ring Central, that phone will be shipped to the user wherever they are globally from the nearest warehouse. So in the example of Australia, I'm ordering against Australia. We will ship those phones to the users on a next day delivery from an Australian warehouse. In the meantime, they'll just use the Ring Central soft phone. So they're going to get an email saying, you know, activate your Ring Central account. I can see what it costs straight away. I tick confirm, I click next, the order goes to the distributor to ship the phones, the users are live. I did that I reckon I did that in under a minute. And you now got users in Australia with telephone numbers, with a soft phone, messaging, with video collaboration, sharing content, everything completely secure, with analytics, in under a minute. Now, how long would it take you to do that with an on-premise system or the services that you use today? So it's a really good example of you know, the way that Ring Central have built up the platform. There's lots of automation built in there. We use AI as well in a lot of our solutions. We have a really forward-thinking attitude, because as we've seen how technology is so important to life now, you know, we thought that from the start. What we do is business communications. We don't do cloud and hosting, you know, we don't do storage. Other people do that. Communications is our business, and we're really good at it. And I actually think that we're the best. I've worked many places in this industry, and I'm so happy to be here. Anyway, with that, I'm actually going to finish 10 minutes early because I think there will probably be some questions, and we've got 10 minutes to, you know, kind of close down the webinar, answer questions, and yeah. So thank you very much for your time, and I wish everybody an amazing weekend if I don't get to talk to you again today on this webinar.
Thank you, Marvin. Are there any, I know there been some questions on the Q&A section here. So are there any more questions there? Okay, another question coming in. Is it a monthly price with Ring Central? Yeah, so it's essentially, you know, when you imagine cloud, that's what it is. So it is per user per month, and it's also scalable. So whether you're one user or whether you're an organization with hundreds of thousands of global users, we only have one product or solution or service, whatever you want to call it. You all consume the same thing, and it's basically priced on per user per month. So I'm not entirely sure this has ever happened, but you could go from a one user man in a van right up to 100,000 user solution, and you would never have to think about deploying a single server. You would never have to capacity manage anything. You literally just keep adding users, and it's based on microservices. It grows with you. Yeah. Is there a minimum amount of time you have to sign up for? We've got loads of different options in terms of commercials. So I would invite you to, you know, come and speak to us about that. But we can offer it in different ways. You know, whether you want to pay up front, whether you want to pay up front for 3 years, 1 year, you know, pay monthly. There's a whole different ways of kind of, you know, modeling that
to meet your requirements. How long can we run a POC for? Generally, we run POCs for 3 months. So we have our solutions engineers that sit in my team. They run the POCs. So they will go through a process with you to talk about your success criteria. What is it you want to achieve? We'll document all of that. We'll spin up the instance. We'll show you how to use it, and we'll constantly benchmark, against the success criteria. How are we doing? How are we doing? Is it a success? Is it a success? How are we getting on? And we manage that POC for you. But to answer your question for a second time directly, generally we run POCs for 3 months.
Excellent.
So I see another one from Matt. We are a multinational with offices in the UK and Europe. Would we experience call charges between UK and Poland? So when you start consuming RingCentral as a customer, the portion of the cloud that you are consuming serves all users wherever they are. Any user connected to the system, wherever they are, calls between subscribed users are free. So if I go to America tomorrow and use my soft phone, calling people in the UK is absolutely on net and free. Yes, in fact, if I've got some users in America and one of my UK users for some reason dials their US external telephone number, RSPCs will actually catch that and they'll route it on net instead of through the PSTN. So yes, on net, all RingCentral users consume the same service, presence for all users, call charges between subscribing users are on net, yes. What's the minimum amount of users? 1.
Okay, that's a good answer.
Does the solution follow me, e.g. call my laptop first? So I'll show you that. Good question. This admin portal, each user also gets something called My Extension. And when you log into that, you can configure as a user your unique call handling rules. So can it do what you just said? Call my laptop first, then my mobile. Yeah, it can do whatever you like. So by default, it's set to ring all of the desktop and mobile apps first. You can change how long for. And then you can, jump onto your other numbers. You can also add numbers as well. Maybe you want it to go to your, I'm not going to put my home phone number. You can, add numbers to your heart's content, drag them around, change the order in which things ring. That's completely up to you. These can also be assigned to users using templates. So if you want a large, amount of users to have the same settings, you can do that as well. Yeah.
Okay. Are there any more questions?
Come and talk to us. We have a unique proposition in the marketplace. As I said, I've never quite worked anywhere like RingCentral. It was a bit of an eye-opener to me moving from Avaya and Vodafone into a company like RingCentral. It's really interesting. At least just come and have a conversation with us.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Marvin, and thank you very much, Isle, and thank you everyone for staying on the call. I'm pleased to say that a good amount of money will be working its way to the NHS, and you have all deserved your day off tomorrow. So yes, this has all been recorded. I'll ping it round everyone who registered for this event, and thank you very much. But reach out to me or your Land3 contact should you want any further information on either RingCentral or Cato. Many thanks. Thank you very much, guys.